Hello and welcome to another edition of the Father and Son Pastime podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin.
That's my dad. We are continuing with our series on the all-time dream teams for each MLB franchise. Today's feature is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates were they've been a team longer than I suspected. 1891.
Yes.
And their all-time team is full of Hall of Famers, and I think we've got about halfway through our series now with doing the MLB franchises. They could probably either stack up and beat every single team. Maybe the Reds could rival them, but they are a fantastic Cubs, maybe. We haven't done the Yankees yet, but they're perennial Hall of Famers. It was very surprising to enjoy this team and see the rich history of it.
Yeah, they were very good through the 50s and 60s, and then they went through a great episode with Willie Stargell and We Are Family in that period, and then it's gone downhill a little bit since because of economics. But if you went through their all-time list, you're saying there were some great players that came through the Pirates organization, and again, steeped with tradition.
Yeah.
So very interesting when I did the research, who was on there that were just fantastic players.
Yeah.
So yeah.
If you're just joining us, it's your first program with us, you're just a Pirates fan logging in, we cover each position as well as a starting pitcher, best reliever, best closer, and for the fun of it, we end with our best manager in Pirates history as well as our favorite logo. And there's a lot of logos in Pirate history, given the 1891 to now spread well over 120 years. But yeah, we'll get into it. And also another qualification, and this won't be an issue with the Pirates, you have to have at least 3 years of team service time. So if you just had one great year in, let's say the 70s with the Pirates, you wouldn't make this roster. You have to have had to at least 3 years of Pirate team service time. All right, well, let's raise the Jolly Roger and get underway. Catcher, who do you have?
I was torn. I have two that are almost equal. Manny Sanguillen and Tony Pena. Both were fantastic defensive catchers, leaders in the clubhouse. But if I had to choose, I think I'd go with Manny, just because he was there during the height of the late 70s, early 80s, when they were so great and went to a couple World Series and all that. So I'll choose Manny, but Tony Pena is right there with him.
That's awesome. I went Jason Kendall. Sanguillen would definitely be my backup to him. Kendall, and obviously is a person that I saw. You saw Manny, so that makes a lot of sense to me. Jason Kendall was a very fast catcher.
Yes.
He had a surprisingly amount of stolen bases,
Yeah.
which is you don't see in any catcher. I think he stole 26 or so steals in a season. I mean, he averaged about 20 steals as a Pirate a year. It's 3-time All-Star as well. Good numbers. So I just went with a more recognizable name, but I think Pena and Sanguillen would be also up there, and not just best, but favorite too. I think maybe Sanguillen might get the favorite over Kendall, but let us know what you agree.
Three great catchers, and you're right, he was very athletic, Jason Kendall, and again, he always stole bases, and I think he batted leadoff, which is unheard of for a catcher as well.
Yeah, because he could steal. You get a quick single and then steal second, which is
true. So,
incredible. Do a hit and run, maybe.
Yeah.
That was probably the only position that, just looking at, like I said, this rich history of the Pirates, that I think we might have, we might disagree on in terms of positions. So you went with catcher first. First baseman, I went with Willie Stargell. I know Willie played an outfielder in terms of the beginning of his career, more ended his career as a first baseman. He's offensively better as a first baseman, and he also had his MVP season as a first baseman. That's why I went with him.
He was meant to play first base.
Yeah, I think so. He's a big guy.
He was a big.
He was, yeah.
He had a great swing. And again, during the 70s and 80s, he was the leader of the Pirates. And, 30, 35 home runs every year. And just was a great guy and very much involved with the community. But he was the one that started all that clubhouse camaraderie. So he was the king of the castle.
Yeah, the We Are Family. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. Who do you have for second?
Bill Mazerowski.
A defense champion right there.
Yeah, I think he goes back to 1960, that era of the Pirates, when they were very, very good. It was the Pirates-Yankees in a lot of those World Series back then. And again, had one of the historic home runs with the Pirates and all that. But again, I think 15 years with the Pirates, very well respected. But again, just a great, steady second baseman that will go down in history.
Yeah, so that's back-to-back Hall of Famers. I'm kicking it to another Hall of Famer. So Mazerowski was an 8-time Gold Glover. For shortstop, I'm going with an 8-time batting champion with Honus Wagner. I think that's a really simple choice in terms of Pirate history. Great shortstop. He hit 381 one year.
Imagine that.
I know, clearly, I mean, lifetime average is deep in the 300s, I think it's in like the 330s. But clearly one of the best offensive shortstops in the history of baseball.
That's right. If you ever get his baseball card, keep
Yeah,
it.
yeah. T208 or something like that, those
Yeah.
cigar cards.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty penny.
Yeah.
Who do you have for third?
Third, I have Traynor.
Yeah! Yeah, I like pie.
I was just about to say that.
Office references.
Yes. But again, another perennial all-star that was huge. I think he goes back to the 30s, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
But again, high batting average, leader, and again, a historic member of the Pirates. But it's cool to go back and see how great these players were when the league was only about 12 teams.
Yeah.
So again, good for them. But what an infield! If you're thinking about that infield,
Yeah, all Hall of Fame.
yeah, absolutely great.
Yeah. Defensively, I think solid up the middle. Corners, not so much. I don't know much about Pie, but I know Willie Stargell wouldn't have won any Gold Gloves at first base. But just for the sake of fun, the backup for Pie, I would have put Bobby Bonilla. I really thought he had a really good career pre-Mets. And I'm not saying he had a bad career at the Mets. I'm just saying that due to that contract that he's still getting paid like $1 million a year, I think he has a little infamy in New York. But he had a really good career with the Pirates.
Yeah, he played multiple positions after he left Pittsburgh and went to other teams.
He did outfield a little bit too.
He did. He was a left fielder. He was a DH. A little bit of right field with the Orioles. I think he was a right fielder. So again, he was, great offensive production and still getting paid by Major League Baseball.
Yeah, that's awesome. For the outfield, I think this is one of my most favorite outfields we've done so far. It's something that I think could be. I don't know how you're getting a hit on this outfield. I mean, defensively, it's near perfect. So for left, I have Barry Bonds.
Yeah, he was the 175-pound Barry Bonds.
And that's what I was going to say.
In Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And again, he stole bases. He was stealing 30 bases a year.
Yeah.
He was a 30-30 guy.
He stole 50 one year, too.
Yeah. And,
no steroids. I believe that Bonds had 0 steroid usage in Pittsburgh.
I agree.
Yeah.
And just a smaller man, but boy, his dad was a great player as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when he played left field for the Pirates, it was fun. He was one of the cornerstones, and then he moved on. But again, people forget that his start was in Pittsburgh and really made a name for himself.
Yeah. Obviously, in the 90s, with terms of great outfielders, we've talked a lot about this, but him and Griffey kind of playing together, they were always on those that kind of rise together around that same age. But Barry Bonds, just with Pittsburgh, had 2 MVP titles, 3 Gold Gloves, and several seasons with 30-plus steals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal to do a 30-30 club.
Yeah. Acuna, before this season, unfortunately, kind of got ruined by COVID, but Acuna's going to try to go for the first 50-50 guy. He's going to try to get 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases, and I think he could do it.
Interesting.
Not anymore. Not this season, obviously.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
50 stolen bases now is a lot.
Yeah, but Bonds did it.
Yeah.
He just didn't get the 50 home runs, so I think it is possible. But I like the goal of Acuna, and I think he's definitely a player to watch. Center?
Andrew McCutchen.
I agree.
Clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you really need to say.
Yeah.
And
another MVP.
Yeah, talk about a guy that used to roam the outfield and make sensational catches and then batted third and was really part of that uprising of the Pirates when they got to be very, very good. When Gerrit Cole was the main starter and all that stuff, challenged the Cubs in, I think, 2015 for the wild card. And since then, they have not been the same. But during that 2010 to 2015, they had an up-and-coming team with fantastic athletes, and Clutch was the big part of that. Yeah. He was truly the leader of that. I love his hair.
Yeah, I love the dreads, for sure. Yeah. I think it's so interesting when you have McCutchen in your outfield, like, again, in this dream team, that he is not the best defensive outfielder. The next best defensive outfielder in this, so it's not Bonds, who had Gold Gloves. It's not McCutchen. Bonds actually had more Gold Gloves than Andrew McCutchen as a Pirate. But the best defensive person in this outfield is, of course, who you think of the Pirates. You think of Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, and unfortunately his career was cut short because of the tragic plane accident, but one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah, 12-time Gold Glove, 15-time All-Star, and 4 batting titles. I think we have so many fantastic Hall of Famers on this roster. no one's better than Clemente. And when you think Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
when you think of the Pirates, you should think of Clemente.
He's the one that invented the roll throw. So you caught it and you spun and you threw. That was cool.
Yeah.
He's the first one to do that. And talk about when the Orioles were very good in the early 70s and all that stuff. It was Pirates, Orioles, and he dominated those World Series.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't keep him off the bases, stole bases, doubles, home runs, and then the outfield, he threw out many Orioles on the base pass.
Great.
And he had a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun to watch.
Yes.
Definitely fun to watch.
It's a shame I think he was early 30s he passed away.
I think it was 38. I think he
Okay.
he probably had maybe 1 or 2 more seasons
Okay.
left. Sound off if you know.
But doing a humanitarian effort in his home country.
I want to say Manny Sanguillen, again, if you're a true Pirates person, you might know this, that Manny Sanguillen was supposed to be on that flight
Correct.
with him, but it was New Year's Eve, and Roberto said, no, you're young, go have some fun, it's New Year's.
Yeah. And I think that was the Puerto Rico, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's where Clemente's from.
Yeah.
So we look at a star-studded Hall of Fame offense, and we go to their pitching. They haven't had as much success, or I guess most notable names in their pitching department. Seems to be always a struggle. With the Pirates, when we talk about other teams, we have several Hall of Famers that come to mind. No Hall of Famers are coming to mind at all when you talk about Pittsburgh pitching. Who do you have as their starter?
Gerrit Cole.
Okay. So you went with a really recent name then.
Yeah, I'm thinking if anyone has a chance at Hall of Fame, Gerrit Cole may have that chance just because now he's with the Yankees and he's going to win 20 games a year. But, think about when they were, again, rising with McCutchen and all those guys, Marte in the outfield.
So
he was the draft choice out of UCLA, maybe, within top 5 draft choices, became the number 1 almost instantaneously and was always great for 18 and 20 wins. And I think the Pirates lost a lot when he left. But think about it, still revered as one of the best starting pitchers in today's National League.
Yeah, no, I think that we will see how well he does with the Yankees once he gets up and going after, I suppose, this season, 2021. I went with age, if that makes any sense. I see that they had some success in the 20s and the 30s, a lot of pitchers. I went with a guy named Wilbur Cooper. Now, Cooper had 4 20-win seasons under his belt with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I think there's only one other person in Pittsburgh history to have that many prolific wins. So I went with just winning percentage, that this guy really would have stood out. Maybe your great-grandfather might have, your grandfather knew this person better, but he was dominant during his time, and I thought looking at numbers alone, I didn't look at any highlights or anything like that, that Cooper would be the person that I would give the ball to start.
Interesting. I saw you had Roy Face in your little notes as well. He was really another great starting pitcher with Harvey Haddix back in the 60s.
So Roy Face is who I would close with, actually.
Okay.
So Roy Face has, I want to say he's the all-time saves leader for the Pirates.
Okay.
So first off, for reliever, I went with Kent Tekulve, which is a cool last name to say, Tekulve.
Yeah.
And Roy Face. So in that generation, they used those players so much in almost in every single game. Kent pitched 94 games in one season, and fun fact, he had 94 total wins in his career, so maybe that's his lucky number.
It is now.
Yeah, just think 94 games for a pitcher. Any pitcher, reliever to pitch in one season is incredible. And Roy Face was just under him, or like 80 games a year.
Yeah.
So they're being constantly used nearly every other game for most times more than one inning. So they both accumulated more than, I think Roy had over 100 wins in his career just by doing a lot of relieving. I think he started for a few seasons.
Yeah. But it's funny. He used to pitch the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So,
they're not just ninth inning people.
Right.
So doing that 94 games is a lot of innings. I mean, Kent, I want to say, saw nearly 150 innings most years. So
he's a submariner.
Yeah. I just think it'd be such a cool... You're going to score a lot of runs with this team. I think our lineups are pretty much identical outside of catcher. So you're going to score a lot of runs. And then it's going to be kind of fun to watch the pitchers, because, I don't know, I just think it'd be fun. Who did you have for reliever or
I had
closer?
Dave Giusti as setup, Kent Tekulve as the closer.
Okay.
And, again, I think by far, a great pitcher. Pitched well into his 30s, and then I think he left the Pirates and went to another organization. But as a submariner during the 70s when they were always in the playoffs and everything else, and he was the guy they counted on for the last 3 outs.
Yeah. Just looking back to the offense, we left off a Hall of Famer for the offense. We left off Ralph Kiner, and we also left off Dave Parker. So
Yeah.
if you think those are just or are they complete snubs, they would definitely be a 4-5, which is, again, just a great outfield of those 5 players.
But Parker played right field.
I know.
He wasn't better than Roberto.
I know.
I
know, it's a simple choice. Everyone would put Clemente over Parker, but we're kind of focused on not just putting put 2 right fielders, put 1 in left, let them figure it out. Like, true left fielders are going to talk about left field, center's going to talk about center, right's going to talk about right. Just going off that.
And the Pirates had a great shortstop for many years named Dick Groats. 15 years he was a shortstop in Pittsburgh. But again,
this 25-man roster is stacked.
Yeah, it really is.
We're going to do the Devil Rays next. So the Rays could use some of these players on the bench of the Pirates for sure.
Yeah.
Just to round it out, the manager, who do you have for best all-time manager?
Jim Leyland.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think he was just a steady guy. I always respected the way he managed. He seemed to be very popular with the players, knew the game exceedingly well, and I think he made a lot of moves within the game that I respected. So Danny Murtaugh was another one that had great numbers as well, back again, 60s and 70s. But if I had to choose one, I'd go Jim Leyland.
I went even older. I went with Fred Clark. Fred Clark has over 1,400 team wins for the Pirates because he was a manager for such a long time in the early part of the century. It just impressed me. I mean, I think it was 1,400 wins. That stands out when you're looking at, especially the past few seasons with the Pirates, and when you only get this guy got 100 wins, this guy got 200 wins in 3-4 years, this guy got 1,000 plus. So that certainly stood out. Talking about logos, they have had a lot of logos from the classic early ball days with just the P letters to you could tell when the 70s and 80s were a thing just by looking at the color. Dad, what is your favorite logo?
I like that. I like the Pirate.
The 67 Jolly Roger. I'm going to go with a more, Pirates of the Caribbean look, I suppose, to the Pittsburgh Pirates. The 97 Pirates as well. Yeah, I just like the color, obviously the bats. But yeah, I just thought
Arr, matey.
Sound off if you're tired of hearing that as a Pirates fan. But yeah, so that was fun. We had a lot of similarities there. Thank you all for joining us. He's already loosening his stuff on just making a pirate joke. Only took him 17 minutes of the podcast to make a pirate joke. I'll round out for us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tolerating us, mostly him, and have a good night.
Thank you.